How are we? This is Chat UTD, reflecting on a 2-1 win against Brentford, which I think pretty much secures Champions League football for United. 11 clear of 6th place with only 4 games to go. So I think 2 more points needed, but realistically we probably don't even need that. And it's just a case of whether we finish 3rd, 4th or 5th after a narrow win and a hard-fought win against a decent Brentford team who have been, I think, unbeaten for a while. They draw a lot of games. They never went away in the game. They hung in there. Thought first half, we started, first 10 minutes, that's as well as we've played, I think, for quite some time actually. Really exciting front foot football. They played quite a high line at the start anyway that suited us. We were counter-attacking them. Lots of corners. I think we had 4 or 5 corners in the first 7 or 8 minutes. Yeah, bright, incisive, good little passages of play, good atmosphere, a really good start to the game. And obviously we got the goal, which solidified it. And I can't remember on what video it was, but recently on air I said the reason I think we've got so many points under Carrick, but one of the big reasons is Bruno finding Maguire and finding Casemiro, and that was the combination for the goal. It was Bruno's cross, Maguire's header, and Casemiro finishing off. 9th goal of the season for Casemiro, his 8th header, I think. Incredible. And I don't know if it was that we started to sit back or if Brentford just naturally came into it. I think it was probably a little bit of both, but those levels I talk about, I felt like those levels were really high in the first 10 minutes in terms of application and desire and motivation and energy. But I believe they dropped, and we're not good enough to drop those levels. So maybe I'm doing Brentford a disservice, but I feel like we invited them into the game. We stepped off, and it just felt like a matter of time before Brentford were going to equalise, but they didn't. Thiago, who's had a great season for them, 21 Premier League goals apparently this season, was awful. He missed some big chances. Lamens made some big saves, and I think we were really fortunate to go in at half-time at 1-0. We came out in the second half playing, it wasn't a back 3, well it was a back 3 I suppose, but it was back 5 essentially. So we'd gone back to Amarim's system and brought Ahmad off and brought Mazraoui on. That definitely solidified it a bit more, although they still had some moments. I'm sure it was in the second half when they hit the post, and obviously they scored and there was a few hairy moments, but it certainly was less of an open game in the second half. I think it's interesting that he switched back to that system, or he switched to that system. I think it's a reflection of the midfield. And I'm going to go through player ratings in a bit. The two, Casemiro and Mainu, were 2 of our better players tonight in terms of their individual performances were really good. But in terms of the shape of the team, in that first half, it's, discipline and being in the right position and covering your covering your defenders and stuff like that, it just wasn't there. And I think it's a weak midfield. And we brought on Mazraoui to solidify it. Ahmad's the one that has to be sacrificed. But they were cutting through our midfield at will because Casemiro hadn't got the legs to get back. So there was one occasion when Maguire made a breakout in the first half and he's probably 40 yards out of position. The ball breaks down and I'm looking, right, who's covering him? Surely that's where Casemiro's got to be. Or if it's not him, it's Mainu. It wasn't, it was Bruno. And that led then to one of the chances that Thiago had, because there was a good ball through to Thiago and he should have done better with it. But Casemiro's not got the legs to get back. So I think Gary Neville said in the second half, Dallow's able to get out to, was it Lewis Potter, as he called, on that left, their attacking left. He's able to get out to him quicker this half because Mazraoui's there next to him. Yeah, but I think he should be able to do that in the first half, because you'd hope then Maguire would be covering him and then one of the midfielders would be covering Maguire. But because Casemiro can't get back, that's a problem. So the midfield area is a huge issue. And individually, they both played really well tonight, Casemiro and Mainu. But there's so much work that needs to be done there. But in the end, we hung on. Big result. And as I say, I think that secures Champions League football. Player ratings, Le Mans, it's got to be a 9. As a goalkeeper, you can't really, apart from conceding the goal, which was the one blot on the landscape tonight, you can't do much else than what he did tonight. He was commanding in the air. He punched once, but I think it was the right decision to punch. Everything else he claimed. He's being shoved all over the place. I can't stand that thing in the corners when it seems to take a minute and a half or 2 minutes to take a corner because the referee's constantly having to pull players up for pulling each other. And Everton did it loads in the game at their place. I don't like rugby. Got no interest in it. I'm watching football. It's a pet peeve of the modern game. Anyway, I thought he handled all that well. He made, I'd say, 4 outstanding saves and a couple that you'd expect him to make. So it was a top performance from Le Mans. Match-winning performance, I'd say. Luke Shaw, ooh, 6.5. I feel like I'm being a bit harsh on him, but was it a 7 out of 10? I don't think it was. It was a steady performance. That's all I would say about that. Got booked early, but did all right considering he was on a booking. Came off with a knock. Heaven, 7. Strong, dominant. Nearly scored 2 own goals in fairness, and perhaps in the first half maybe could have done a little bit better in his positioning, but hassled, harried, and somewhat recovered in those moments. Looks a real player to me. Very, very strong. Breaks out of the defence. Good use of the ball. Like him. I think 7's fair. Maguire, 7. Strong, brave, won everything in the air. Brings the ball out well. Obviously a threat in the air. Nearly scored. Got the assist for the first goal. Good night. In fact, 7.5 for Maguire. Thought he was decent tonight. Dalot, 6.5. The 2 things I can remember from the game from Dalot tonight, the standout moments, were in I can't remember which half it was, but it doesn't matter. He got the ball on the wing and he tried to take the Brentford player on, and he just looked so uncomfortable and clumsy, and the Brentford player very easily robbed him of the ball, and then he fouled him. Dalot fouled him, and just looked like why did I bother? Why did I bother trying to do that? He's just not great, is he? He's just not a very good player. And then there was the other thing that stands out to me was we were playing out from the back, breaking lines, little triangles, lovely football. And I think it was still at 2-0 at that point. Really, really lovely play, and we're about to break, and it fell to him. And he miscontrolled the ball, fell over, gave a free kick away. Like, I was going all right until it went to Dalot. But he was all right. He was steady enough, I suppose. Mazraoui, 6.5 for him. He was okay when he came on. He had a whole half. Casemiro, I'd say 8. Scored the goal. He's a sly old fox, isn't he, towards the end there. He's buying free kicks for us. He's very savvy. He's putting his foot in. He's flying into challenges. He's given everything he's got. As I said before, he ain't got the legs to get back. But what he did really well today. And it's a great farewell tour for him, isn't it? He's scoring goals. He's enjoying the love of the crowd. The fans are singing "One More Year, Casemiro." Be careful what you wish for with this board. I wouldn't rule it out, because we're not going to sign three midfielders in this summer. Not in a month of Sundays are we buying 3 midfield players, and it would not surprise me in the least if they try and dress that up as some sort of gift that we're going to get another year of Casemiro. He's probably wise enough to know it's not the right thing to do, and it isn't the right thing to do. He's not got it at the top level to play the amount of football we need. And as I say, today he couldn't get back. What he did was really good, but if his starting position was 40, 50 yards in front of the defence, he ain't making that ground up. But I wouldn't rule it out. You heard it here first. I would not rule that out, him staying for another year. Mainu, 7.5. That's the best I've seen Mainu for a long time. And a glimpse of what he's got. Started with intent, drove the ball forward. A great run in the opening minutes. Lovely feet, gliding past players. Right decision to pass it to Ahmad. Ahmad should have buried it, really. That was a great bit of play. He was nice and neat and tidy on the ball. He a few times he got the ball, he tried to take it on. He tried to make runs. I'd say tried to. He did make runs, not quite the same as the impactful one he did in the first few minutes. And really strong and tough tonight. Tough in the tackle, throwing himself in there, being physical, being aggressive. Made some big challenges, good recovery slide challenges. Everything he did really well. Again, I'd say like Casemiro, in terms of that deep lying pivot, his positional discipline wasn't always brilliant, but what he did really well, and it was a glimpse of what he's got. When you think of what some of the goals he scored in his early career at United and how good he was at times when he first came in, people have waxed lyrical about him since Carrick came in. I don't think we've seen a fraction of the potential that he's got, and I hope he goes on to find it, because there's definitely a player there. I don't think we should be building a midfield around him, as I mentioned, and I've mentioned several times, and I don't. But I want to see him progress, and I want to see us nurture him, and I want to see us help him to fulfil his potential, because there is undoubted potential there. Bruno, I go 8. Majestic in the first 15 minutes, absolutely majestic. The guy's just mint. The range of passing. There was a pass in the first few minutes where he got it in the sort of like left back position. He didn't even control it. He just pinged it probably 60 yards into the channel for Mbeumo to run onto. He's just a genius. He's brilliant. He put the ball over to Maguire where Maguire has a header which was very close. He's fantastic. He played his part in the first goal with the corner. His delivery from corners was brilliant all night, I thought. And obviously he gets the assist for Seshko. If there's one player you want in that position for the second goal, it's Bruno Fernandes. He will not make the wrong decision. I was screaming, Mbeumo, and he just pass it to his right. He has a little look. He knows what to do. The timing of it's perfect. The weight of it's perfect. The execution's perfect. And it's 2-0. And is it 19 assists now? This season? I think he's one off, isn't he? He's one off the record. And I hope he gets it. Just great. You know what? The first 10 minutes in general, I thought, I know we're not going to win the league, and I know we're not going to be smashing teams every week, but just a bit of this. This first 10 minutes, if you could have that more often than you didn't, I'd take that. But Fernandes, in terms of his individual performances, if other players in their positions played to the level that he plays at in his position, it's all she wrote. We're winning things, because his levels are stupidly high. Ahmad, I like Ahmad, and I don't know if it blurs my perception of it, because I don't get him being brought off at half time. Thought he was all right. I thought he was bright. I thought he used the ball pretty well. He should have scored in the first few minutes, and there was the one where Bruno threaded him through and he's offside, and maybe he's not held his position particularly well there. But I wasn't looking at it thinking this is a big problem at all. As they said on commentary, all of the threat was coming down the other side. It wasn't like he wasn't tracking his man. He played his part in the second goal with the sliding tackle. You know, I'm going to give him a 7. I was going to give him 6.5, but I think I'm getting pulled into the narrative of he was brought off because he wasn't playing very well. I don't think he wasn't. Maybe he was just sacrificed for the team, perhaps. Perhaps it wasn't that he wasn't playing very well. And Mbeumo, 6.5. I mean, he made some good runs. He was busy enough. But in the first half, there must have been 5 occasions where he's in a good position. He just hits it off the defender for a corner, which keeps the pressure up, I suppose. And we are a set piece team these days, so I guess it's as good as anything else. But I'm looking at a guy at times in a position where he's been bought for when he's 1-on-1 with a fullback or even with a centre back. I look at what he was doing last season for Brentford in those positions. It's not a corner. He's either assisting or he's scoring a goal. He's got all the momentum. The defender's backing up. He's just hitting it off them for a corner every time. And Bumo's performance level since November has been poor. I like him. I think he's a good player. I think he's got a lot about him. In terms of a transitional type signing, if you want to go from where we were last season and you want to try and finish in the top 4 like we're obviously going to do this season and maybe in and around those positions, he's all right. But I think we need to see more from him. Seshko 7, some really neat touches, nice hold-up play, really good goal. Good night for Seshko, but he was decent. Lovely finish, actually. I probably shouldn't just wash over that as in a blasé way as I did there. Really nice touch, really good timing of the run, little feint and a good finish. Who else came on? Mount. Can't remember when Mount came on. 6.5. Xerxes wasn't on for long enough. Yoro came on at the same time as Mount, 6.5. I think that was it. I must say, it was good to see at half-time the manager addressing a very clear issue that was there just to try and solidify things. And he changed the system at 2-0 and didn't just sleepwalk into us continuing to play the same way. It shows that he's doing his job properly, I suppose, with the coaching staff. And it was efficient and we got the job done, which has very much been the way it's been. And as I've said, all the way along with Carrick, every game with 10 minutes to go, there's jeopardy involved in it. And even at 2-0, you never felt massively comfortable. And then Brentford score and there's proper jeopardy in it. And I don't think we could have complained too much if it had been a draw tonight. I don't think we'd have had too many complaints at all. But by hook or by crook, again, we've won a game. And I said, and I have to own it, after the Leeds game, I wouldn't rule out an implosion. Well, we've won the 2 games since then, away at Chelsea, at home to Brentford, neither of which are easy games. Didn't fancy us tonight, thought it had another poor night written all over it. I thought we were very fortunate in the first half to still be 1-0 up, but the first 10 minutes were very promising. He changed the system, we settled things down, there was glimpses of some good football, and we were efficient enough to win the game on another night when their striker doesn't have an absolute mare as he did. It's a different scenario, but that didn't happen, thankfully. Liverpool at the weekend, next weekend, bank holiday weekend. Let's hope the sun shines out, and let's confirm Champions League football by beating the Scousers. How sweet would that be? And in the process, hopefully, mean that we finish above them. But saw a Scouser earlier on today in the gym, and he was sort of like, "Oh, what do you reckon? Are we going to be able to pip you to 3rd place?" I said, "I don't really care. If we finish 3rd, 4th, or 5th, we're in the Champions League, and so are you. It's been one of the worst title defences for a long time. So, good luck to you." Anyway, that's for another day. We're pretty much there. Glazers. Oh no, before I say Glazers out, that was one thing I did want to say. First time in a long time tonight, I've heard some anti-Glazer songs at Old Trafford. Now, it needs to be a million times more hostile, more militant, more organised, more strategic than it is. And it won't ever get to that. But it's interesting that there was a few murmurings of discontent against the worst owners in football, in my opinion. And on that, Glazers out.